Hey guys, Dan with Philosophical Fishing, and I wanted to make a video today talking about my experience coming off of klonopin and going through psychosis. And so, for those of you who don't know, I was on klonopin for 13 years. Well, that's not entirely accurate. I was on some form of benzodiazepine for 13 years, with eventually taking 5 milligrams of klonopin a day for the last 3 years that I was on benzodiazepines. I was also taking an antidepressant called Prestique, another drug called Inderol, another drug called Vyvanse, which is an upper and a stimulant, and I was also taking Suboxone, which is prescribed for opiate addicts, because I also had an opiate addiction for a very long time. So what happened was, I finally got to a point after taking these medications for such a long time that I was just in a constant state of depression and anxiety, and I couldn't function anymore. And I just got to a place where I didn't know what to do. My family didn't know what to do with me. And I was stuck on these medications that I couldn't just abruptly stop, especially klonopin, because it can actually cause seizure, and you can actually die from coming off of klonopin if you stop it cold turkey or stop it too abruptly. So I was just kind of in this place where I was stuck, and and I didn't know which way to go. I didn't know which way to turn. I was just severely depressed. I just couldn't function anymore. I could barely hold down a job anymore. I was not a functioning alcoholic or drug addict, you know. And I say that about myself because I am a drug addict and an alcoholic, and that's just not the case for everybody. I think actually probably most people that get damaged by benzodiazepines are not alcoholics and drug addicts. I think most people just become they become dependent on these drugs because of doctor prescription, you know, and quite innocently start taking something that they thought was going to treat some kind of symptom that they were experiencing, and their doctor prescribed it for them, and they just end up going down this path of taking a drug that they had absolutely no idea what it was going to do to them. You know, it was just plain ignorance that people don't know what these drugs are capable of, what they do, and neither are the doctors, frankly. I mean, the doctors don't know what they're prescribing for people and what they're going to do to them, you know, because if doctors really knew, I really don't think that they would be doing, I don't think they would be prescribing, you know, all these benzos to people. You know, I was reading something just the other day that said that there were 30.5 million prescriptions of benzodiazepines written just in the US alone in the year 2020. And so, and then they think the projection has just gone up since then. So since 2020, you know, now we're in 2022, and you know, so I'm sure we're well over 32 million prescriptions written in the US. You know, that's not considering every other country in the world. So anyway, so I went to this treatment center taking at least 5 prescriptions, plus I was using other drugs illegally on top of that, and I was drinking on top of that as well. So, I mean, you can imagine what my mental state was like in this time. I mean, to say I couldn't function is putting it mildly. I could barely get through day to day. I was having suicidal ideations, and I was just miserable, man. I just wanted out. I didn't want to do this life anymore. You know, and I just didn't know which way to go. Let me take this off. It's getting a little hot in here. But so I got to this treatment center in August of 2015, and if any of you have ever been to a rehab facility or a treatment center, one of the first things they do is, well, at least for me, they had me stripped down butt naked, and to make sure that I didn't have anything on me that I was trying to smuggle into the facility. And then they had me pee in this little cup, and on the sides of this cup it has a markers for all different kinds of drugs. And so I peed in this little cup, and the guy's like, man, this thing's lighting up like a Christmas tree, man. You got everything in you. And he was right. I mean, I was taking so many drugs and prescriptions and pills at that time that, you know, I'm sure that that cup did light up like a Christmas tree. So the doctors at this facility that I was at decided to put me on a rapid 9-day taper to get me off of all these drugs, which, if any of you know anything about coming off of benzodiazepines, for any length of time at all, 9 days is incredibly fast and destructive. It might as well have been cold turkey. You know, even if you've been on benzodiazepines for a relatively short amount of time, there's no way that a 9-day taper is ever justified. Now, I was on benzodiazepines for 13 years, and the doctors decided that a 9-day taper would be sufficient to get me off. And, you know, I was in such a mental state at the time that I didn't know what else to do. They told me, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to keep you comfortable. We know what we're doing. And they assured me, you know, it's going to be okay. We do this all the time. And so I just kind of threw my hands up. At the time, I was so desperate and just willing to do something different and to come off these drugs that I just said, yeah, okay, fine, let's do it. Let's go for it. And so I did. And, you know, I just didn't know what to expect. And for the first 9 days, you know, I think they started taking me down at about a 0.5 milligram a day. So from 5 to 4.5 to 4 to 3.5 to 3 and so on. And I really didn't experience too much at all in those 9 days, which is also crazy to think about how powerful these drugs must be if during those 9 days, when I went from 5 milligrams down to 0.5, I really didn't have much experience of withdrawal at all. I don't know. It's just so weird the way that benzodiazepines work and the way that they affect people differently. So by day 9 or 10, I was off of everything, except for some reason they didn't taper the Prestique, the antidepressant. So I get to day 10, and the first day that I was off, I don't think I really felt anything either. I think I felt, I'm sure, strange and odd, but it really wasn't until I think about 48 hours after I completely came off of klonopin that I remember, oh my God. So in rehab, they kind of try to give you a well-structured environment. And they had you go to groups all day, and they give you a schedule. You know, in the morning you get up, you have breakfast, you go to this group, you go to that group. And I remember sitting in this room, and we were having this group. And I just remember looking around, and I went, oh shit. Oh, this is bad. This is really bad. And just this incredible wave of anxiety, fear, paranoia, and just this complete dysphoria came over me. And I thought to myself, this is not good. This is not good at all. What is happening? And as the hours went by, I started to lose grasp of reality. And it's so hard to describe what that felt like and what was happening. And it's hard to remember. Thankfully, I guess one of the things that I did was I kept a journal when I was in treatment, and I tried to write something down every single day. Just because I've always been a writer, I've always journaled, I've always liked to keep track of things that way. But I've looked back at that journal, and I try to about every year, about every August, because it gives me a lot of gratitude to see where I came from and where I am now. But as the hours went on, I just started to completely lose track of reality, and my grasp on reality was quickly unraveling. And the next thing that I remember is I was in my room, and we had three bedrooms, 3 beds to a room. So I had 2 roommates in there with me at the time. And the next thing that I remember was I had my music, my earbuds in, and I had my hoodie on, and I had my hood pulled up over my head. And I remember trying to write something in my journal, and the only thing that I could get out was, "This is hell. This is hell. I am in hell." And that's literally what I wrote. I should get the journal out and show you guys and just hold it up. The feeling was indescribable. I know many of you who subscribe to this channel and have been through benzodiazepine withdrawal know exactly what I'm talking about. It's such a crazy thing to go through. I'm trying to find the words to describe what it was I was going through, what I was feeling. Basically, I felt completely insane. I couldn't control my thoughts. The thoughts that were coming to me felt like they were being fed to me from something outside of me. I couldn't talk. I couldn't think. I couldn't form sentences. I couldn't form words in my head. And I couldn't move either. I was too afraid to move. It's like I felt paralyzed. Like if I moved off my bed, I didn't even know what to do with myself at that point. I had no idea what to do. And the only thing that I could think of was, this has to end. I have to end this now. And the only way I saw to do that was to kill myself. And so I made a decision at that point that I was going to put my fist through the window and find a piece of sharp glass and just end it. And somehow, I'm not sure what happened between making that decision and what happened next, but maybe I asked for help, or maybe somebody found me like that and tried to help me out. But I found myself in one of the psychiatrist's office at that facility and telling them my plan, that this is what I was going to do. And they promptly called me an ambulance to come pick me up. And in Florida, which is where I came off of benzos, they have something called a Baker Act, which if somebody is in danger of hurting themselves or hurting somebody else, you can legally hold somebody in a psychiatric facility for up to 72 hours. So they called an ambulance down. They put me in a wheelchair since I couldn't walk, and they wheeled me down to the ambulance that came to the treatment facility where I was at. And they put me in the back of the ambulance and laid me down on a little cot. And I think I got the brand new EMT because he didn't know how to start an IV bag, and he couldn't find a vein in my arm to get the IV fluid started. So he was poking around, this guy, and he blew out my vein, and then I finally said, screw this, dude, F this, we're done. You're not gonna poke me with this damn needle anymore. But they got me to the hospital and they checked me in, and then the next 24 hours were absolutely insane. And I'm gonna do the best I can to describe what it was like in this psychiatric lockdown unit for the next 24 hours. It was easily the most horrendous thing I've ever lived through in my entire life. So, I need some tea. So they take me to this holding room and they have me in there for a little while. And then they finally brought me up to the psychiatric ward. They took all my clothes and they gave me a gown to wear. And then after asking me a few questions, they led me back to my room. And it was, I think it was later in the afternoon. I don't quite remember. But they told me I could make a phone call, and I just wanted to get out of this place. I just wanted out, and I wanted to go get a prescription, get some benzodiazepines, because I knew that that would at least give me some relief from the state that I was in. And so I tried to call my sister, who lived not too far from this hospital that I was in, only I couldn't dial the number. I didn't have the mental capability to put her number in this phone that they had hanging on the wall. I couldn't put it together to put in her phone number. I couldn't mentally do it. I couldn't grasp it. So I kept trying to dial, couldn't do it. Kept trying to dial, couldn't do it. And I remember there was this Haitian lady who was in there, and God bless her, she was completely insane and had a lot of serious mental illnesses. And she was sitting next to me as I was trying to dial the phone, and she was speaking to me in Creole, but she sounded really angry, like she was really pissed off about something. And she was kind of directing her anger at me while I was trying to dial this phone number. So in my state of mind, I thought that she was putting some voodoo curse on me or something. I mean, those were the thoughts going through my head, like this lady's cursing me as I'm, trying to sit here, dial my sister on the phone. What the hell's going on? And so after, a while, I think I finally put in my sister's phone number accurately. I called her, she answered the phone. I begged and pleaded for her to come pick me up, but she didn't know what to do. She just knew that her brother was in a rehab facility and needed to go through this process. And, she didn't understand, what I was going through or what was going on. And I could barely make out any words to her anyway. So I hung up the phone. I gave up trying to escape. And, I just accepted that for the next couple days, this was going to be where I was going to live. And, this was my lot now. So that night, I went back into my room, and there was 2 beds to a room, and there was another guy in the room with me, and he just turned over and faced the wall and fell asleep. But I could not fall asleep. I laid in the bed in my little gown with my covers pulled up, and what happened next was just absolutely insane. Again, I'm going to try to remember this as best I can, but from what I recall, I was laying there and unable to sleep, and these thoughts, the most insane thoughts I have ever had in my life started to just loop in my head and go through my head, and I couldn't control it and I couldn't stop it. It really felt as if somebody just inserted like a cord into my head and was just downloading thoughts from all the insane people that had ever slept in this room, in this hospital, in this insane asylum at this hospital. It felt like somebody just plugged in a cord that all these people's thoughts were plugged into and just started downloading it like right into my psyche. That's the best way I can describe it. I know it sounds crazy, but I couldn't control these thoughts. I couldn't stop them, and it didn't feel like I had any part in the creation of these thoughts. It was like I kept getting these mental images and these impressions, these mental impressions of, I can't even describe what it was. The closest I can, if you guys have ever seen like the movie The Cell with Jennifer Lopez, it's a really creepy, crazy movie. But she through this like weird technology, she enters into this serial killer's head, and she starts walking around and going through his head and seeing like all the stuff that goes on in this serial killer's mind. That's what it felt like. I was getting these like really, really disturbing images and these disturbing visuals, and I couldn't stop it. Also, during this whole time, I was so physically sick. I was also coming off of Suboxone, which is what they give to opiate addicts. So I don't know if you guys have any experience with coming off of opiates, but what it does to your intestines and your digestive system, it's not fun. And so I kept having to get up and go to the bathroom like every 30, 40 minutes or something, just all night long. So I was sick. I might have been vomiting. I don't remember. Just nauseous, feeling like I had the worst bout of stomach flu, and completely insane, out of my mind, in this psychiatric lockdown hospital, and I had no way out and nothing to do. There was nothing I could do about it. I was completely powerless. I was locked down. I was too sick to do anything about it. And it was the scariest, craziest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. So after a long, sleepless night of disturbing images being downloaded into my psyche, I woke up the next morning and I petitioned the lead doctor to give me an Ativan. And he did. He gave me one, and I got some relief from it. Not a whole lot, but I definitely did get some relief from it. Anyway, like I said, when you're Baker acted in the state of Florida, you're supposed to be locked down for 72 hours. However, at this time, it was probably early September, and that's the height of hurricane season. And so the facility knew that there was a whole bunch of people that were about to come in that night to get off the streets. A lot of homeless people and addicts would flood the psychiatric unit on purpose, either get themselves arrested or declare themselves a suicide case so they could go have a place to stay for a few days. So somehow I got out of there early. I only stayed there one night, and the next day they sent me back to my treatment facility. And from there, I got prescribed gabapentin, which I've talked about in another video, which is, I think, one of the only reasons being that I'm still here, insofar as how much that drug helped me out and helped me just to have enough cognitive ability to be able to come out of that place. The psychosis went away after a day or two, and I slowly started to regain mental function, but it was not easy, and it was a slow process of healing from that moment, and when I was in that psychiatric lockdown in that hospital, something else happened, which is also kind of hard to describe to people, but and this is where, for me, the spiritual aspect of healing starts to take place. But I cried out to whatever was out there in the universe, call it God or the universe or creative intelligence, whatever you want to call it. I just said to whatever was out there was, I'm done. I'm not going to try to control anything anymore. I'm taking my hands off the wheel, and if you're there, please help me, because I cannot do this by myself, and I'm dying and I don't know what to do, and I'm sick and I'm out of my mind and I'm crazy right now, and all my best efforts of trying to control my life got me here. And if there's something out there that can help me, please help me. And that was just my simple thought. I guess you could call it a prayer to the universe at that point, because I was just so desperate and so beat down, and I had nothing, I had no more will to fight. I had lost the will to live, and I had no cognitive ability to try to argue with anybody or anything. I had everything stripped away from me so that I was just bare, like a bone, like nothing. And in that space, I guess, that's where I finally turned to something out there to say, please help me. Please help me. And there was just a simple prayer. And I think that there was something to that. I really do. I don't think that I could have gotten to where I am today without having gone through that experience. I think for me, I can be such a hard-headed, stubborn individual that for me to change, or for the change that I needed in my life, maybe there wasn't any other way for that to happen but through the experience that I had to go through. You know, I was just at a place where I had no idea what else to do, where else to turn, and I was dying. You know, at the end of my addiction to benzos and to other drugs, I was dying, and I really don't know. For me, I know that I would not have been able to go follow through with a taper. I'm not that strong. I am too weak. I know for me that if I would have tried to taper a benzodiazepine, as soon as it started getting too hard and too uncomfortable, I know I would have gone back, and I would have just picked up where I left off. I wouldn't have had the fortitude to go through a long taper. And the people that do, you guys are awesome. You guys really are impressive to me, that you guys can do that. And there's a lot of people that do it, and man, I say, if you can do that, and you know, get off a benzo and give yourself a much softer landing, and not shock your body and do all this crazy stuff that I had to go through, man, that's so awesome. I guess I wish that I could have done that. But when I came off of benzos, I didn't even know that that was a thing. I didn't even know that that was an option. I had no concept of how you get off of benzos, what you need to do, that there was anything called a taper. None of this stuff I didn't do any research. This was in 2015. And it was probably less known about than it is now, but still, I had no concept of this. I just thought, you know, before I got off of benzos, I thought I'll probably just stay on these the rest of my life, or until it kills me, because I can't stop doing them. So for me, I think going through that experience and being kind of ripped off of them was probably the only way that could have happened for me. And unfortunately, but here I am, and I'm in a much, much better place having gone through that experience. And you know, these things that we go through, these tough moments and these valleys and stuff, you know, they're our greatest teachers by far. I mean, so many beautiful, wonderful, great things in my life have come about as a direct result of having gone through that awful, terrible experience in psychiatric lockdown and coming off of benzos, and the weeks and months that followed. You know, so many great, great things have followed and sprung from that, such as gratitude, and being so incredibly thankful for the things that I have today and the health that I have today. You know, I remember just looking around at people who had health, and man, I was so envious of that at that time. I thought, man, if I could just be healthy, if I could be where those people are today, just to, you know, just to be able to eat a meal and not have my belly explode with benzo belly, and my nerves just so freaking raw, and to be able to use my mind again. All that stuff had to be taken away from me for me to truly be thankful for it. And, you know, I know I've talked about it before, but being grateful and having gratitude is, it's a big, big thing in my life today. It's a big game changer. It affects how I view the world. It affects how I view myself. You know, our brains actually have what's called neuroplasticity, which means that, you know, they're not static and fixed. They're actually quite pliable. And we have the ability through different things such as gratitude to actually change the neuroplasticity of our mind. And practicing gratitude and practicing being thankful for things will actually increase the joy in my life and increase the happiness in my life when I choose to put my focus on things that I'm grateful for. And, you know, these were all things that I learned after having come out of benzo withdrawal and looking for ways to try to heal and to try to live a better life, and to try to search for some joy and happiness. And so being grateful is that's a big one for me. Being grateful is huge. And, you know, the studies that they've done on neuroplasticity of the mind confirm that we actually can change our minds and our brains. The physical structure of our brains can change through the practice of gratitude. I just wanted to share that experience with you guys. I know a lot of you have gone through it, and some of you are in the woods and in the thick of it and going through that valley right now. I want you guys to know you're not alone. I want you to know you can heal and you can get better from this. You can come out the other side and live a much better life. So don't give up, guys. Again, you guys have left me so many great comments, and thank you for reaching out. Thank you for leaving comments. Thank you for you guys subscribing. And as I always say, as long as these videos are helping people, I'm going to keep making them. And if you guys have any more suggestions for videos or content that you'd like to see, feel free to leave me a comment and I'll be sure to take a look at it and see what I can do. So I love you guys. Thanks.